Friends, have you truly understood the Diamond Sutra? Why is it that some people have read it many times, can even recite it from memory, yet still cannot live their lives well? In this video, I will thoroughly guide you to comprehend the true wisdom within the Diamond Sutra. Our Chinese ancestors had a saying, "The true teaching is conveyed in one sentence. False teachings fill 10,000 volumes." The so-called Great Way is simple, not overly complicated. Today, I will break down the Diamond Sutra and explain it in plain language, so you can clearly and fully understand it in one go. If you can truly grasp and comprehend it, then you are not far from enlightenment. The entire Diamond Sutra mainly discusses one word: emptiness. It guides us to break the attachment to the self, the fundamental method. Its essence can be summarized in 4 sentences from the sutra. Here comes the key part. The first sentence: if a bodhisattva has the notion of self, others, sentient beings, or lifespan, he is not a true bodhisattva. What does this mean? Having the notion of self means attachment, believing that there is an I existing. Taking this body, composed of the 5 aggregates, as the self. Taking the continuous flow of thoughts and consciousness as the self. Thus generating a strong ego, and consequently making various distinctions. Due to the delusion of having a self, and the ignorance of clinging to the self, we give rise to self-view, self-love, and arrogance. Self-view means being opinionated, thinking only one's own views are correct. Self-love is caring for oneself above all else. Arrogance is considering oneself superior, even when not as good as others, unwilling to admit it. The notion of others means distinguishing between people, distinguishing between self and others. I am me, others are others. With those we get along with, we become close. With those we don't get along with, we reject. Thus arises division between regions, discrimination between races, barriers between countries. This not only prevents humanity from harmonious coexistence, but also hinders peace and stability in the world. What is the notion of sentient beings? Beyond oneself and those around us, there are many beings formed by the combination of the 5 aggregates. They are influenced by karma, manifesting as poor or rich, kind or evil, healthy or sickly, and so on. This is the notion of sentient beings. The last is the notion of lifespan. It refers to the entire life process from birth to death. Our lives are but a few decades, yet people desire permanence, especially those who have achieved fame and success with wealth and status. They are even more reluctant to leave this world. Thus, ancient emperors were keen on seeking immortality. In Confucianism, there is the concept that, of the 3 unfilial acts, having no offspring is the greatest. They hope to continue their lineage through having children. This is also an expression of the notion of lifespan. Some people wish to extend their life through the legacy of their career. This too is an expression of the notion of lifespan. These 4 notions encompass all worldly phenomena. If one clings to them, one is not a bodhisattva. Although they are called 4 notions, in reality, they are all aspects of the notion of self. The notion of self is the root of all afflictions: attachment to one's body, attachment to one's status, attachment to one's career, attachment to one's family, and so on. This keeps our hearts constantly entangled, anxious about gains and losses, unable to be at ease. This is the affliction brought by self-greed. Facing adversities, we develop aversion, our hearts filled with unease, irritability, anger, and resentment. These are afflictions caused by self-hatred. When others receive honors, even if it doesn't affect us, we feel uncomfortable. This is the affliction of jealousy. When someone insults us, hurting our self-esteem, this is the affliction caused by arrogance. The Diamond Sutra tells us with this sentence: we must eliminate the notion of self, break the attachment to self, and realize non-self. Non-self doesn't mean we don't exist, but rather eliminating the inner attachment to the self. When you feel resentment and grievance after being criticized, subconsciously shifting blame to external circumstances, this is a manifestation of our self-protective habits. We care too much about how others view us. Many people live for the image of themselves in others' eyes. They believe happiness must be showcased to others to be real. They cannot accept misunderstanding and criticism from others. Their emotions are tied to others' attitudes. This is because they haven't realized non-self, haven't understood the true meaning of life. Pay attention to your own mind. Strive to control your own heart. We cannot control what others say. We can only tame our own delusions. If we wish to help others, we must bravely bear all hardships involved. Learn to let go of the self. The bigger the ego within, the less power we have to benefit others. We can only work on our own body and mind, and cannot demand others' thoughts and actions to align with our wishes. What we need to do is to break out of the cage, to break one illusion after another through observation, thus freeing ourselves from the entanglement of afflictions. The second sentence, if one sees me through form or seeks me through sound, this person practices a deviant path and cannot see the Tathagata. What does this mean? Many people burn incense when they encounter temples, bow to Buddhas when they see statues. They believe that offering incense to Buddhas will grant them protection. This is absurd. In fact, many people worship Buddha for their own desires. They pray for things that don't belong to them, such as wealth and fame. If someone gives up personal growth in reality and thinks that burning a few sticks of incense will bring them blessings, isn't that too easy? Why would anyone need to strive for anything? If there is a Buddha in your heart, you can see him anytime. You are like familiar friends. Constantly bowing would be awkward. On the contrary, if there is no Buddha in your heart, even daily worship won't help. So what is the Tathagata? It is our own true nature, the true self. It is the inherently complete and perfect self. Therefore, having the Tathagata in the heart means seeing the true self. Thus, this sentence tells us, we must seek inward. We are inherently sufficient within. We ourselves are the Tathagata. To seek Buddha is to seek within our own hearts. This is the true Tathagata Garbha. Many people often complain that the external world gives too little, but have they considered whether there is a problem with their own understanding, allowing things that could have been utilized to slip away? Introspective methods are strategies shared by Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. Seeking within oneself doesn't mean blaming oneself for the current situation, but reclaiming the power that belongs to oneself. Because with great responsibility comes great power. The third sentence, the past mind is unattainable, the present mind is unattainable, the future mind is unattainable. What does this mean? Why can't we have these three minds? First, the past. The so-called past has already gone. No matter how much you anticipate or regret, it is irreversible, like a spilled glass of juice that cannot be recovered. What you need to do is pour another glass, not sit there weeping. Now about the present, we often say we should cherish the present. This statement isn't wrong, but we must understand, time does not stop. It's like a great river, flowing tirelessly day and night. The now you want to grasp tightly has already become the past at this moment. It's like the man in the Chinese idiom, marking the boat to find the sword, thinking he could retrieve his lost sword by marking the boat. But by the time he made the mark, the sword was long gone. What he should have done was jump in immediately to retrieve it. Lastly, the future. What is the future? It has not yet arrived. Since it hasn't arrived, it holds infinite possibilities. Every action, every word, even every thought you have now will impact your future. So what use is there in worrying about it? In this sentence, the Buddha tells us, past events cannot be pursued. The future is unknowable, and the present is constantly becoming the past. Therefore, what we need to do is live well in every present moment. Of course, living in the present doesn't mean only focusing on immediate pleasures or being complacent without considering the future. Zen Buddhism says, when hungry, eat. When eating, just eat. When tired, sleep. When sleeping, just sleep. This is living in the present. But we often do more than one thing at a time. For example, scrolling through the phone while using the toilet, watching videos while eating, checking social media when lying in bed. Even when doing one thing, our minds are filled with thoughts unrelated to the present. For instance, worrying about not having enough time while studying for exams, being anxious about not being favored during interviews, thinking about unfinished work while resting. This is not living in the present, What we often refer to as mindfulness is actually a practice of living in the present. Mindfulness includes two key elements: awareness and acceptance. First, be aware of everything happening internally and externally: inner thoughts, bodily sensations, the surrounding environment, etc. Secondly, maintain a state of acceptance. Pay attention without judgment to all good or bad things happening. Whether it's joy or pain, accept their occurrence. Do not resist or avoid. In summary, living in the present means bringing attention back to here and now, fully aware and accepting of everything happening. Therefore, living in the present doesn't mean instant gratification or complacency, nor does it mean ignoring the past and future. It means focusing attention on actual happenings and one's feelings and thoughts, not treating imagined past and future in the mind as reality. Because in every present moment, the past is only a memory, and the future is only a projection in thought. The last sentence. All conditioned dharmas are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, shadows. Like dew and lightning, they should be regarded as such. We know there are many laws in the world, from the rising and setting of the sun, the changing of seasons, to ants moving homes, birds migrating. They are all included. But broadly speaking, dharmas are divided into two types: conditioned dharmas and unconditioned dharmas. Conditioned dharmas are those sought outside the mind, not originating from one's true heart, but from external circumstances. So it's impossible to find the fundamental source. To help us understand the error of seeking dharmas outside the mind, the Buddha specifically gave several exquisite examples. For instance, dreams. When we have pleasant dreams, we're happy. When we have nightmares, we're scared. Dreaming of delicious food might make us drool, but upon waking, it's all empty. Another example is illusions. Take, for instance, funhouse mirrors. The reflections, are they you? They distort your size and shape exaggeratedly. But if they aren't you, the outline is still the same. Similarly, soap bubbles contain many virtual images, but with a pop, they're gone. Or shadows, they follow you everywhere, but they're not the real you. Then there's dew, which disappears in an instant when the sun rises. Those who don't rise early may have never seen it. As in the saying, morning dew fades, days are numbered. Finally, lightning, which is the fastest in the world, striking before you can cover your ears. But all these are conditioned dharmas, elusive and hard to grasp, just like the arising and perishing in the world. All phenomena are impermanent. What we need to do is view all worldly dharmas with such an attitude. Allow and accept objective things and their inherent characteristics to exist. Respect and accept the truth that things are impermanent. If we hold such a view towards all things, we won't become attached and thus won't suffer. Think about it. When a person pursues something, knowing that it is empty in nature, formed by conditions, even if obtained, it can change at any time. He won't cling to it. He won't become a slave to it, understanding that those things serve him, and he is the master. For example, someone pursuing power. When reaching a certain official rank, he becomes immersed in the illusion of power, mistaking the social role of his position for his true self, believing it to be real and unchanging, thus deluded. As a result, when caught for corruption, he suffers greatly. His attachment made him a slave to the illusory power. Another person pursues wealth. When accumulating a certain net worth, he becomes infatuated with wealth, arrogant and indulgent. As a result, subsequent investments fail, leading to bankruptcy and huge debts. He takes desperate measures, deceiving and committing fraud. Ending up in prison, not uncommon. Their attachment made them slaves to money. When a person loses something, knowing that these things are inherently impermanent, he doesn't cling. He may still feel pain, but he accepts his loss. He allows himself to feel pain, so his suffering is minimal. He will quickly get through it and recover. Often, the reason people suffer unbearably is because we don't allow ourselves to suffer, causing even more pain. Inner non-acceptance leads to internal division. This pain far exceeds the pain caused by the loss itself. The correct approach should be, Allow everything to happen. Since the truth of the world is impermanence, allow all phenomena to exist as they are, to occur and change as they do. Do not resist. Embrace the universe with a broad mind. Accept all things. In this way, where would suffering come from? Isn't that right? Well, these 4 sentences can be summarized into 4 realms. Emptying the body, letting go of the 4 notions. Emptying nature, establishing true nature. Emptying the mind, removing the 3 minds. Emptying dharmas, breaking conditioned phenomena. Thank you very much for reading up to here. I hope it has touched and inspired you. See you next time.